Hello everyone and welcome to Skill Capped. I'm Notorious Dub and today I'm going to be breaking down the myths behind muscle memory and from there giving you guys all of the information you need to know to use Kovaaks, one of the best aim trainers on the market and downloadable from Steam, to help you improve in Valorant. And for those of you who just want to know exactly what you should be doing, we're going to close out the video with the Skill Capped Kovaaks playlist, as well as all of the best settings and anything else you might need to work on just in case. Now, muscle memory is one of the most underrated and most important things to understand when it comes to being a good aimer, because it is literally the foundation that your ability as a gamer is built upon. And there are two things that are commonly referred to as muscle memory. The two types of muscle memory are muscle fiber memory and neuron memory. Muscle fiber memory is your muscle's ability to get back to its full ability after it breaks down over time, whether it's reaction time or simply just the size of the muscle. And it's much easier to relearn a skill and get back to your peak than it is to reach that peak in the first place. And then there's neuron memory, which is what we're going to be focusing on because aim training is mostly developing the brain and mind-muscle connections. It's like riding a bike. There seems to be this moment where it just clicks and you're able to perform the task, and it never really goes away after that. But the great thing is you can improve on that ability because the connections in the motor cortex of your brain can be improved upon, developing stronger connections and allowing your brain to access that memory easier. This, in turn, makes performing that action way faster and a lot more consistent as well. And these motor neurons that we're developing are able to help out with other similar actions, which is why we've developed a well-rounded aim training routine to help fully develop your aiming ability. Now, let's talk about the aiming mechanics that are the most common in Valorant that we're going to be developing and exactly how we're going to do it. Now, at this point, we've all probably heard that crosshair placement is the most important thing in Valorant, which is entirely true, and it also means the most common movement that you're going to be performing is micro changes around your crosshair. This is also known as micro adjustments, but in Valorant, most of your kills are going to come from an enemy peeking around a corner, or you peeking a corner, and an enemy just being slightly off of where you initially had your crosshair placed at. And the micro adjustment is then the key to snagging that kill, and the perfect task to develop your ability to micro adjust is called micro shot. There will be one ball on the screen at all times, and as soon as you destroy that ball, another one appears very close to that target. And the goal is to be as accurate as possible with this task, while going as fast as possible as well. Now, a great goal for this task is going to be to go as fast as you possibly can go while staying above that 90% accuracy. So if you're above the 90% accuracy threshold, speed up your shots, and if you're not above that 90% accuracy threshold, slow down and make sure you're being as accurate as possible. After that, of course, we have horizontal movement, for when enemies are strafing left to right or right to left, which happens so often, and you have to land that first shot at least to give them that 70% slow from the bullet to be able to pick up the rest of the shots and pick up that kill. For this skill though, we're going to be incorporating the TAM speed task. Here, you're going to have two targets relatively far away from you spawn on the screen and move left and right. The goal here, once again, is to flick as fast as possible to the target and land an accurate shot. This is perfect for developing the ability to land those headshots on moving targets and be able to micro adjust at longer ranges. And this task is a bit more difficult to land those shots, but you're going to want to stay above the 85 to 90% accuracy threshold and increase your speed as much as possible while still maintaining that accuracy. And next we have target switching. This is the highlight play skill, where you have to swap from one target to the next very accurately and very quickly to hopefully pick up one or maybe even two more kills very quickly. Now, to train this skill, we're going to be using the dev target switch task. For this task, 3 balls will appear on the screen, moving horizontally in both directions. The goal here is to flick to each ball as fast as possible and maintain your crosshair on the target until the target is destroyed, much like what you would be doing in Valorant. Now here, since your gun will pretty much always be firing for this task, don't focus too much on accuracy. Instead, simply focus on swapping targets as fast as possible and not letting your crosshair come off of the target the entire time. This is one of those skills that takes a while to be able to implement into the game, but once it clicks, just like riding a bike, you'll notice a huge improvement in your play and you'll start picking up those big rounds for your teams. And finally, let's talk about reaction time. Now, in a game where fractions of a second are the difference between killing or being killed, winning or losing a round, or winning or losing a game even, your reaction time can be one of your biggest strengths or your worst weaknesses. Now, reaction time is a highly debated topic on what the most effective ways to go about it are, but it's agreed upon by most that you can improve your base reaction time by somewhere from 10 to 20% on the given task. And we know that performing the task that you want to get faster at works at improving your reaction time with it. So that's where we're going to be focusing on, and to train this, we're going to be doing the reflex medium flick task. Here, you want to throw accuracy and everything else out of the window so we can isolate the reaction time aspect of the task. Simply relax, clear your mind, and look at the screen. and as soon as the target appears on the screen, flick and click your mouse as fast as humanly possible. The goal of this is to train your brain to react to the stimulus of the ball appearing as quickly as possible. Now your score isn't going to look great on the leaderboard performing the task this way, but we have other tasks helping us with our accuracy, and this task is specifically used for helping us develop our reaction time. And this shouldn't be one of those tasks that you expect to see incredible results from overnight, but over time this could easily be one of the most beneficial exercises that you can do. Now we have left out quite a few different types of aiming here, because Valorant just honestly doesn't require that type of movement. Things like long range flicks past about a 60-degree field of view. Very rarely will you have to make those long range flicks because Valorant has funnel-like places on the map, and you can generally tell where the enemies are going to be coming from. So the long range flick practice is honestly just a bit inefficient. And we also have vertical movement. Where other games have an insane amount of vertical movement, Valorant has very slight verticality built into the maps, and most of your fights are going to be on the same level or very slightly above, but very rarely a target moving upwards. And then we have tracking with constant left and right changes in movement. Where other games have insane movement while shooting, once enemies are tagged in Valorant, they're essentially just a sitting duck while you finish them off, so we don't have to worry too much about hitting targets that are constantly spamming left and right, because once you get that first tag, it's basically just a standing still enemy. But before we send you on your way, you have to make sure that you have your settings right. There are a ton of people that tell me that Valorant just feels different from kovaaks, and it turns out they've just been practicing on the wrong field of view or the wrong sensitivity the entire time. So first, go to the settings tab in the main menu, and here, under the main tab, you're going to want to set the sensitivity scale to Valorant, and plug in your sensitivity that you use in Valorant just below that. Also, make sure you have your vertical sensitivity locked to your horizontal sensitivity checked in. Your FOV measurement here should also be set to Valorant as well, and it should be set to 103, which is the base FOV for Valorant. Also, for your max FPS, you're going to want to set your FPS for 3 FPS below whatever the hertz that your monitor is set at. This way you prevent any screen tearing whenever you're moving your mouse at high speeds, and it gives you the best performance. Next, you're going to want to navigate to the Weapon tab. Here, make sure you have the Hide Weapon box checked in, and pick out a crosshair from their pre-generated crosshairs that is pretty similar to your Valorant crosshair. And then under the Video tab, you're going to want to make sure that your video mode is set to full screen, so you can make sure that your computer is running the game at its set hertz value instead of the default 60, and turn your graphics all the way down, with anti-aliasing set to no AA, and everything else set to off. And then under visuals, there are a ton of options to pick from, but the best players usually stick to a very neutral color with no texture, like gray or light blue for the walls, floor, and sky. But whatever you like works for you, just make sure you have enough contrast where the balls actually stick out for you. And finally, under the Sounds tab, this is worth mentioning, the audio files are going to be personal preference for you, but we do recommend keeping them where you can hear them, because audio feedback is huge for improvement and understanding immediately what's going wrong. But if the missed shot sound tilts you specifically, feel free to turn that one off. Now let's get into the skill capped playlist. This playlist is designed to be a warm-up and a cooldown for whenever you're done with Valorant for the day, and it's super easy to download and use. The link will be in the description below. So optimally, you're going to want to use this playlist 2 times a day, in the morning before you play, and before you're getting off for the night. It's also a very short 18-minute playlist, so if you're ever in a slump, take a break and do the playlist to warm back up. Because honestly, warming up is completely overpowered, and just doing a simple warm-up will put you way ahead of most of the people at your skill level. So first off, we're going to start with 2 pressure aiming 7-target tasks. Pressure aiming is a very underrated task, because it's great for getting the hand warmed up and getting you moving the mouse correctly. There's also a ton of clumps of targets that you're going to be micro-adjusting with, and the occasional flick getting most of the movements warmed up. And the task is also just pretty fun in general, and fun is a huge part of sticking to a routine. Now for pressure aiming, you're going to want to go as fast as possible while maintaining an 85 to 90% accuracy on your shots. So be sure to speed up as much as you can, but we want to make sure we have good form as well, and maintain a high level of accuracy because it doesn't matter how fast you are if you just can't hit your shot. And then we're going straight into 3 runs of the micro shot speed task. This is similar to pressure aiming, because this task is great for warming up, but it forces you to be a bit more precise with your movements, and is really going to focus on training your ability to micro-adjust to targets close to your crosshair. For this task specifically, you're going to want to aim for the 92% accuracy threshold, while once again pushing yourself to go as fast as possible. So speed up your shots until you start to fall below that 92% mark, and then maintain or slow it down just a bit to bring yourself back up. And next, we're going to go with 3 runs of the Reflex Medium Flick task, where you're going to be developing your reaction time, and improving your skill in Valorant all across the board for that matter. For this task, for the most part, you can forget about accuracy. Simply focus on flicking and clicking the mouse as humanly fast as you can as soon as the target appears on the screen. Now, getting a high score on this task is great, and the accuracy will come over time, but that's not what you should be focusing on. Overall, the goal of this task is to develop speed, not accuracy and not a high score. And of course, with the next 4 runs, we have to do TAM speed. This task is quite difficult and starts to incorporate movement into the task, but here you want to focus on hitting the movement targets over and over as quickly as possible, and you want to make sure to be accurate as well. This task is hands down the best task to develop your ability to hit targets on the go and snag those headshots on difficult to hit targets. This task is also a bit more difficult though, so you're going to want to focus on the 85 to 90% accuracy threshold. And while there isn't an accuracy penalty in the score calculation, accuracy is huge for being able to hit the heads of enemies moving horizontally, so make sure you keep that accuracy high. And then we're going to pivot into target switching with Dev Target Switch. This task is going to train your ability to map out your path from target to target and start racking up those kills back to back and picking up those rounds you honestly just have no business picking up. Now for this task, you're going to want to focus on speed, going as fast as you possibly can, snapping from target to target as each of them is destroyed, and focus on not letting your crosshair escape the target once you lock onto it. Now I do have a couple of closing remarks because kovaaks isn't going to do everything for you when it comes to improving in Valorant. So first of all, crosshair placement is one of the most important factors in Valorant like we talked about earlier, and kovaaks honestly can help you very much with crosshair placement. This is because crosshair placement is mostly dependent on map knowledge and understanding the headshot height of the angles that you're going to be peeking into or going to be peeked from. If you do want to train crosshair placement though, then deathmatch is going to be your best friend. So instead of focusing on winning the deathmatch, visualize the angles that you're going to be peeking into and try to predict the headshot angle with your crosshair. Another great tip is to line your crosshair up with your teammates' heads at the beginning of each round, and try to keep your crosshair at that head level throughout the entire round. This way, any enemy peeking at your level will be perfectly in line with your crosshair, and you have to move your crosshair the shortest distance to be able to hit that headshot. And of course we have spraying. Spraying is individual for each gun in Valorant, and kovaaks honestly just can't mimic that level of depth, and you're going to need to practice those shots as well. The best way to practice this is to go into the shooting range and pick out your gun of choice. Go to the practice dummy with the adjustable target, set it to 20 meters and focus on spraying as much as you can while keeping all of your bullets inside the smallest circle in the middle. Gradually you're going to increase the amount of bullets that you're spraying, and in no time you'll be able to follow up that precise first shot that you're training with kovaaks with some backup shots to finish the job. And finally, kovaaks isn't the real game. You should always follow up your kovaaks with some deathmatch or even games if you have the time after training in aim labs to help connect what you've practiced in isolation to the actual game of Valorant. So, what do you think of our routine, and what helped you improve your aim the most in Valorant? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, I want to thank you for spending this little bit of your day with us, and I'm Notorious Dub, signing off.